Welcome back to Gender Discourse and a discussion on consensual sex. I'm sorry, I keep making that mistake, but we're discussing rape so often that consensual sex and rape, there's a very thin dividing line. And a discussion on consensual sex versus rape. I've corrected myself. Okay, now you were talking about 2000 years ago. Well, 2000 years ago, a woman was considered a man's property. And in lieu of his protection, she was supposed to give him sexual pleasure. But today, men and women are equal to each other. And we have to talk about safeguarding her rights.
That's why I told, according to the time, it changes.
Yes.
As ma'am says, it is an Indian culture. I saw it is not an Indian culture, all over world culture.
Yes.
Okay, now, as the time goes,
I
just a minute, as the time goes, living calm, so need the government to redefine about the consent. Otherwise, such type of confusion will be there. As I say, Madhur Bhandatkar will get the bail from Supreme Court, but a poor man will be in the jail for the 6 months.
Right.
That is my point.
I just made a comment, you know, when I made that mistake, and I said there's a very thin line between consensual sex and rape. There's also a very thin line between rape and live-in relationship, says Kusum. So would you like to explain that further?
Truly speaking, I am totally against this live-in relationship because there is a very thin, I mean, it is real on the borderline itself, because we can say in rape there is no consent, in live-in relationship there is a consent between two persons. Now just foresee the consequences of this relationship. What will happen? Now today the youth, they just want sex for pleasure. They don't want any reproduction, they don't want any bonding, they don't want any that they should have any responsibility or liability. Now what will happen? What I can foresee is in another 20 years there will be no future generation. There will be no future future of the country. All old people. Then what will happen? If today each and every person decides this, that we will not bear children, we will just have sex for the pleasure, what will happen? Smita, I ask the panelists.
Yes, Smita,
marriage is not,
I
mean, this is something that is really, because we are not talking about marriage as a institution which is about reproduction. You know, people are not getting married so that they can have children. You know, this is a completely very, very strong and a separate discussion and a debate that would say about this is the right to the body, right to pleasure. I mean, it's very different. But if coming and saying, I want to come back and say, by not treating marital rape as part of the thing in the recent reform, it's actually become a highlight. It's a highlighted thing. So you're kind of saying, okay, I accept that it is abuse, sexual assault, if it is done by a father, an uncle, chacha, taya, dada, nana, whoever, right? But if it's a husband, it's fine. Okay? So it's something that we really have to address and talk about. When I'm working with the girls and I'm talking to them and we talk about what is it, the violation, the degradation, and they said, okay, so today, if this person is coming in here and he abuses me or he infiltrates me, I can scream, shout, and I have recourse to various laws. Tomorrow I'm married off to a man and he is the one who is actually going to be abusing me. I don't have a recourse to a law. I have then to go towards all these various other things that you're talking about. You have to go to domestic violence route, you have to go this, but it's not recognized.
It's not
Why is it not recognized? Why is it not recognized? Because it is about rights. It is not about, it's violation of my rights.
Would you like to expand on this?
It's very unfortunate that whenever we talk of rights of women, or for that matter Dalit or a Muslim or any minority rights, it's always the majority takes very offensive. All men become very offensive, that if a woman is getting some support from the law, then she will always misuse. It's not that, no, it's not that issue. It's not
Supreme Court says legal terrorism.
It's not an issue of that. See, Supreme Court, I told you in the beginning, Supreme Court gives so many judgments. Here he criticizes the woman who is misusing the law. The second order, he criticizes the man who is misusing the woman. So I'm not like bothered about what Supreme Court says in one judgment and the other judgment what Supreme Court says. We as a lawyer, we have been always using Supreme Court laws, judgments in each cases, in different cases, in different ways. But my concern is this, the way the society is going ahead. See, we are a very democratic, independent, sovereign country. And here in this sovereign country, I don't have a sovereignty on my body. This is a sovereign country, I say in my preamble. But I as a woman don't have a sovereignty on my body as soon as I get married, because the whole sovereignty is transferred to a man. The whole sovereignty of my body transfers to a man. So that is the issue point of my disorientation and discontent, because my state doesn't recognize fully my sovereignty over my body. So this is not an issue of man versus woman. The man and the woman are partners of this society, and it's not a matter of marriage for procreation. It's not only a thing. Marriages are what, according to me, and I'm not one woman. I'm a spokesperson of lakhs and lakhs minority of women who believe that I as a woman is an independent human being, independent citizen, and if I enter into a marriage with some independent human being, a male, it can be a male, it can be a female also. So if I enter into a marriage relationship, for me marriage is a relationship of convenience, relationship of mutual understanding, mutual respect, mutual space and non-violent environment. It has to have been a non-violence environment. But for the present marriage, for the present institution of marriage which is existing in India is devoid of rights to women. It's devoid of dignity to a wife, because the man has a law says that exception to husband to do rape. It says clearly husbands are exempted from rape.
One second.
So the whole system gives.
Keep on giving example. Please, 3 women is there, 1 man.
You feel aggrieved, so
no, not aggrieved. Not aggrieved. What I am saying, when you talk about men, women is not an issue. Our proposal to the parliament, make it spouse. If you say all women are honest, sorry ma'am, as I give an example, please look Times of India. Today 40-year-old woman raped a 11-year-old boy. So such type of woman also there, such type man also there. Same way, a lot of husband also.
Yes.
You will not believe, because you do not have helpline for men. You do not have ministry for the men.
You have it, don't you?
This is a non-funded, we are working guys, ma'am. Hardly 1 hour, 2 hour I can give for the society. And on that helplines, forget about the men. Their mother, sister is calling every day, crying. They are because such helpline numbers does not address their problem.
No, I'm sure a lot of men have problems too.
You have
it
to
can't just be a woman-oriented
92
issue.
years old mother when crying in front of me, NCW refused to help her.
Yes, well, this is what we discussed. Kusum, you had a point of view, Kusum. I want you to put that across. Are you responding to what?
Yes, what
Khatija
I want to say is today,
Smita
you
said,
see, as a citizen, leave it that whether I am an advocate, doctor, teacher, I am citizen first, right? So we have social, we have legal responsibility towards the society. Even judges who passes the orders, it is for the betterment of the society. Maybe the facts and circumstances of each and every case is different, and judgment is passed according to it. So at the same time, socially, what should be the duty of a person? That we should have human values in us. We should obey those values first, then we should go to the norms or any rights or any duties. Now what is happening in our society is that we have become so self-centered. We have that human values are not there, rationality is not there. What differs a human being from an animal? That is rationality. Because human being is rational and animal is not. So why today our society is marching towards barbaric society? Because we are losing those human values, those rationality in us. That is why rape cases are increasing day by day. We are unable to distinguish between a daughter, between a sister, between a wife, between a mother. So what I want to say is that we should not become animality and negative things in us. We should be rather responsible towards the society to make it a conscionable society.
Yes. Smita, we'll discuss this further after this final break. Don't go away, we'll be back soon.
एक ऐसा शो जो आपके लिए लेकर आता है कानूनी मुद्दों से जुड़ी जानकारियां और उनके समाधान।
हिरासत में लिए गए व्यक्ति का सबसे पहला अधिकार जो कि संविधान ने उसको दिया है,
डायरेक्टली मैजिस्ट्रेट के पास जाके मेंटेनेंस मिल सकती है।
मैं कहता हूँ कोई सिस्टम बजाय खुद फुल प्रूफ नहीं होता है।
मेडिकल एविडेंस जो है वो बहुत ज़रूरी होता है।
हर स्कूल में मिड डे मील्स की फैसिलिटी दी हुई है।
मेरा ख्याल से ये यूजीसी आईसीटी अपना काम नहीं समझता।
वैसे तो पावर का इलेक्शन कमीशन को बहुत पावर है।
तो हमारे फ्यूचर सिटीजन्स पैदा हो जाएंगे, वो ऐसे होंगे जो टैक्स कंप्लायंट होंगे।
जहां होते हैं आपके सवाल और हमारे जवाब।
Welcome back to Gender Discourse and a discussion on consensual sex versus rape. No Freudian slip this time. Okay, Smita, you wanted to talk, expand a little more about the barbaric nature of our society. Is that what we were discussing, or that we are not barbaric? What would you like to say?
Like Kusum, just taking forward, moving and creating the culture and the social space that we occupy and inhabit, yes, we are responsible. And that is why we are creating the strictures and structures which keep on detailing and clearing up and minutely bringing forth all the things that we should be actually addressing. Now, while moving from barbaric to where we are, the civilized things, strictures and structures have been put into place from the perspective of the majority, which is the man's perspective, the patriarchal perspective, right? The vulnerable groups have been left way behind. Whether you want to talk about the disability group, you want to call whichever, okay, women also have been left way behind. And within women, the sexual space that a woman would occupy has been totally undercover, under wraps, not at all addressed. Now, it's bringing out all of that to say, okay, this is the kind of subjugation, this is the subservience, this is the kind of abuse, this is the assault that women have been experiencing in silence, in taboo, with stigma. It's about removing all of this. The more we talk about it, the more we create a culture. And again, I repeat, it's not about men versus women. It's about men and women creating the world that we want to live in. Okay, so it's not about whether is it going to be in marriage. It's not about whether it's going to be in live-in relationship. It's not about whether it's going to be in a workplace. It is about anywhere, any structure or non-structured space where one person, one human being is inflicting assault of a sexual nature without consent of the other person is something that needs to be taken cognizance of. Okay, so whether to say is it rape in marriage, is it rape in a live-in relationship, is it rape in a workplace sexual workplace that we are talking about, I think is really irrelevant. What we are talking about here is about rights and consent. If there is no consent, it is sexual assault. It is sexual assault, and it must be considered as such, and it doesn't matter which structure it is taking place in.
Okay.
It's irrelevant.
Right. Let's get a little specific now. See, often rape victims do not seek assistance or tell anybody about the rape. Absolutely. Because they do not identify the experience as rape at all. Or they may feel ashamed, guilty, betrayed, frightened, particularly after being raped by someone they knew and trusted. I think you took that point up. The psychological effects can be profound and long-lasting. And if we discuss the rape trauma syndrome, or RTS, it is a medical term given to the response that survivors have to rape. It is very important to note that RTS is the natural response of a psychologically healthy person to the trauma of rape. So these symptoms do not constitute a mental disorder or illness. A lot of women who complain are dubbed as, mad or, mentally disoriented. So would you like to say something?
Whenever a status quo is threatened to get disturbed, then we find various ways in which we can kind of annexure the complainants, right? So mental asylum, oh, this is okay, mental asylum, send this person out. We don't have to take cognizance of it. So yes, we have to remove the stigma from it. Right? Like Flavia Agnes, I just love her quote that has said that if my daughter comes back and she's been through a sexual assault, I'll tell her, get up and walk, because that's not going to be your identity. Okay, right. You have to move beyond it. I love that. We have to remove the stigma from it. We have to remove it as the source of the identity. Oh, this is a rape victim. It's not a victim, it's a survivor. We have to move into the language of survivors.
Yes. Have you come across any such case?
I have been handling
psychologically disturbed.
So many things.
You know, they've dubbed
I'll tell you one thing. I'll give you one
women.
very simple example. Because it's a whole patriarchal culture, my sexuality should be protected unless until my sexuality is handed over to the person who's owner, the husband who owns my sexuality. So if it's violated by anybody else, my world has come down crashing, things are over, uski zindagi kharab ho gayi, wo to kuda ho gayi, whatever, all those kinds of words I used. So that seeps into the woman. Apart from that, what makes a woman psychologically traumatized? The whole implementing agencies, whole system, how as soon as I undergo an abuse and I want to complain, then I have to call the police, then go to the hospital, go to all those, the whole system, the courts, the worst part is the court. I myself have gone under a sexual abuse matter, and I know what is there to stand the cross examination, what kind of assault I went through when I stood the cross examination. So see, like, whole system is so anti victim, anti survivor, it's so against that for me to open my mouth and come and say that I've been abused is such a trauma itself. The whole thing come back crashing on my head. I've seen through my own experience, my client's experience, that things change if you have one simple hand person standing behind you and saying, no, go ahead, nothing harm will be done to you, let's go and punish this man. Then you see the kind of confidence these women have when they're facing. See, I'll tell you one thing. When we started, this helpline was started, after that, 1 month after that, I received a call from a young girl, 14-year-old girl. She has been kidnapped, raped, trafficked 3 months back. There was only a missing complaint. It's not even FIR. There's been a missing complaint. She was recovered after 125 days of, kidnapped and trafficked. She was trafficked up to Nepal. She was brought back by the police, no doubt. But there was only a missing complaint. She was handed over to the father. She gave a statement in front of CWC that I've been abused and raped, but still there was no FIR, no case dodge. This girl from a small village of this country, she went back to her home. She heard about, she was here in Delhi when this happened. Father was very poor man. He couldn't sustain the threat and the whole trauma of daughter being kidnapped and abused. So he just wounded up his ready thela and went back to his village. One day this girl listens a story on media that there is a helpline by CM which is going to support women in distress and who have been facing. I was the person who was talking and said that if you have been abused, get up, talk about it. It's not, you are not the abuser. The crime lies with somebody else. Gunah kisi aur ne kiya hai, aapne nahi kiya, so why you should be sharminda. Get up and talk about it. And this woman insisted her father to get a card from where she can do a STD call. She did a call to me. She came back to Delhi. We opened the case. The whole culprit was arrested. See, I'm telling you.
Like to add that it's a really very sorry figure of a society that rape cases are not only decreasing, it is increasing day by day, and it becomes a highlight news. I mean,
let me just interject there.
Newspaper. Then what next?
Let me just interject.
What kind of reformative steps taken by the government or by any NGO?
No. Let me just interject and tell you the kind of help that the government is giving. See, the government is not implementing any scheme for relief and rehabilitation of rape victims. However, a scheme on restorative justice to victims of rape has been formulated by Ministry of Women and Child Development for implementation during the remaining years of the 12th plan. And recently, the government has promulgated the Criminal Law Act 2013, also known as the Anti-Rape Bill. And what are the provisions? The government which makes punishment for sexual assault more stringent says that it has provisions for handing out death sentence to offenders who may have been convicted earlier for such crimes. The law for the first time defines stalking and voyeurism as non-bailable offences if repeated for a second time, and perpetrators of acid attack will attract a 10-year jail sentences. and it has fixed the age for consensual sex at 18 years. It also provides that all hospitals shall immediately provide first aid or medical treatment free of cost to the victims of acid attack or rape, and failure to do so will attract punishment, so on and so forth. There are a lot of other such provisions. So I think help is at hand from, as far as the government is concerned. It's for people now to, take it up, to use those provisions.
I just wanted to
be
add
aware of them.
I just wanted to add her thing, one simple line. Everybody is talking that Delhi has become a rape capital. There's been so many rapes and all. I belong to women's movement, hardcore women's rights person, legal activist, but I believe my experiences, I have got evidences for it, to be very precise. It's not the cases have increased, it's the women have got more strength to come out and complain and register FIRs. So cases were still there, but people were not registering cases. See, I'll tell you, the example was this, that this young girl who has been raped 6 months back, there was no FIR. She went back home. So she came back when she heard that there is a
these are the final comments. Yes, final comments.
About the statistics. See, US per lakh 48 rapes, India too. Does that mean US is more unsafe than India? No. So stats don't go to the statistics. Okay. The problem is what we are saying, as ma'am says, girl child story. When we launch a Facebook page, we also get a lot of boys' stories. They had been sexually abused. Unfortunately, for them, WCD had not done anything. Second thing about the trauma, just a minute, trauma as you explained of a rape victim. That court also says, when a person falsely accused in the rape get arrested, government rule, more than 48 hours detention, you will not get job. When you apply any job, criminal case pending, you will not get job. Main problem, what is ma'am's problem, what is my problem is common. If you really want to reduce the crime, not the law, you have to reduce the total trial time. Because if you see in USA, any crime, get the result 6 months
justice
or 1
delayed
year.
is justice
In
denied,
this case, if the person is innocent, to prove his innocence need 10 years. If the person is guilty, to get the judgment gets 10 years. So, the failure of the judiciary to give the timely judgments leads to duplications of the law. As you say, matrimonial law, ma'am say no, I say 3 law, send me one amount. I will put that person behind the bar, let the person rape wife or not. 3 law, Domestic Violence Act, 498A and 376.
Kusum, what do you have to say?
I will put rest of the life behind the bar. That is the law of this land. Ma'am says no law.
Swaroopji is really het up. So what is your response to this? Is he right? Do you accept it?
He will never get bail in his life.
Do you agree? What do you feel? Do you feel as strongly?
I will put him. I will show what is the law.
Okay, Smita, yes.
I would like to say something
Concluding
over here.
Comments,
yeah, I would just like to say over here that judgments are also made by judges who have their own share of social baggage through which they make their interpretations. So let's not get stuck about what and how. And yes, when we're talking about something as sensitive and as relevant as sexual assault, we really have to look at what are the processes in place and how is it that we can clean up the loops in the whole system. Okay, that is what is important. But what is more important is also to kind of create this message out and create a preventive culture, the mindset which is saying respect consent.
Yeah, right.
Respect
well, thank
consent.
you. Thank
that
you.
Is the basic thing. That
thank you, everybody. We have to. Yes, yes. We have to wrap up now. Yes, we have to wrap up now, Kusumji. Yes, thank you so much. All of you have really, given us points to think about. It's been very interesting, and thank you for joining us. We will return next week, same time, with yet another debate on another relevant issue. Till then, goodbye.